I was considering closing down the church that I pastor. The pressure just got very, very real. Let's talk about it. Well, welcome back to Bible Geek Uncensored, and I want to first of all thank you all for clicking on this video and hearing me out, especially if you are a pastor. I know that you will relate. If you're not a pastor, but you go to church, obviously, and you have a pastor, please check on your pastor. You know, so many churches are closing down on a monthly basis. There are so many pastors reporting, for example, I have here, and I'm not going to read all of them, but 56% of pastors across America are reporting the immense stress of the pastoral job. 43% are recording that they feel lonely and isolated. 38% say that there are current political divisions. 29% say I'm unhappy with the effect of this role has had on me and my family. 29% record I am not optimistic about the future of my church. Another 29% report my vision for the church conflicts with the church's direction. 24% report my church is steadily declining. 22% report I am not satisfied with my job. 21% report I don't feel respected by my congregants, and the list goes on. So many churches are closing down on a monthly basis. Pastors recording that they feel isolated. They are feeling the pressure. I was considering closing the church that I pastor. I feel the stress. We're a small community church that my focus is, preach the gospel, teach God's word, and reach out to the lost. Our church was not growing. As faithful as we can be, our church was not growing in numbers. Finances were declining. Some of the church members that are already members were not going. And it started, stressing me out quite a bit. I'm going to tell you something that might freak you out, but I'm 36 years old. You may think I'm lying, but I'm not. I'm actually 36 years old, and I'm turning 37. I have stressed out a lot. I wanted to close the church because I didn't want to be stressing. Sometimes I feel very lonely, even though I know my leaders. I know the few of us that are there. Many of them care for me a lot. I've been under a lot of pressure. I have to have a secular job, to pay my bills. I'm not complaining. Don't think I'm complaining. I'm not. I'm very grateful for the job that I have. It helps me pay my bills. The church that I'm pastoring, currently pays me $55 a week. It's not much. I don't do it for the money. I don't. I have a secular job. And to get to know other pastors that are in the same boat, I've got my family, my own family. I got to take care of. I got to provide. I got to make sure that things are not missing. And sometimes they are. I do the best that I can as a pastor. As a father, as a husband for my wife, as a son to my mom that I still have with me. My dad already went to be with the Lord. And so I got to make sure that everything's right. And a lot of pastors don't talk about it, but not only does a pastor that has a secular job has to have those responsibilities to take care of their job, to take care of their family, but then they also have the responsibility of being a pastor and making sure that their congregants are well. Sometimes the congregants, they're going through problems, family issues, divorces, a death in the family. And when you're a person that cares for the people, it hurts you, man. It just devastates you. It's not easy. It's not. A lot of pastors report working over 90 hours a week. My sermon preparation alone, it's around 30 hours just to prepare my sermon for Sunday. And right now we're only gathering on Sundays. There's just so much going on. And we're renting a church building from another friend pastor of ours, and I'm happy, and I know that one day the goal is to have our own church building. We don't have the finances to do that just yet. And I'm not going to throw myself and get a church building of our own when we don't have the numbers in people or finances. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that I'm being smart and not just, take a leap and just fall straight ground. There's a leap of faith, and then there's reality where I have to be realistic too. I'm going to trust God and I'm going to do this, but at the same time, we have to be realistic, right? And if I'm wrong, let me know down in the comment section. I'm going to tell you that I love what I do. Yes, I'm stressed sometimes. Most of the time, I'm under pressure. But I love teaching God's word. I may not be the greatest teacher. I'm not even a great teacher to begin with. At least that's what I think, but I love doing what I do. I love being able to stand behind that pulpit and preach God's word and teach God's word verse by verse, show and share with them what I've come to learn and to understand. I love being able to help people understand what the gospel is. You'd be surprised if you ask somebody, what is the gospel? Could you explain to me the fullness of the gospel? How many people don't know that have been in church for 10 plus years? I remember having a dream, and I woke up. I prayed. I came to work. This is where I do a lot of my battles, right here. And as I was praying to the Lord, it just reminded, he reminded me, hey, trust me. So I'm trusting him. If there's a pastor out there that's going through something similar, if you're considering closing the church, trust him. Be faithful to the Lord. Be faithful to the Lord. Be faithful to his word. All right? Be faithful to the Lord. Be faithful to his word. Love God. Love his word. Love people. He'll take care of the rest. And if the church closes down, well, then the church will close down. And your ministry will continue at one point or another. If you have to take a break, then take a break. Take a break. The last thing we want is for you to be burned out. And I know that I should be taking my own advice. I don't have a co-pastor right now. Okay. And so I've got to do what I got to do. And I love doing what I do. Believe me, I have so much joy being able to preach and teach God's word. It's just the additional stuff, everything that it comes with, because a lot of people think being a pastor is super simple, very easy, and it's not. It's not. And this is why James warns us that not everybody should be a pastor or a teacher of God's word. Not everybody, because we're going to be held accountable at a more strict level. Not only that, but everybody that comes under our ministry, their blood is in our hands. What are we teaching them? What are we preaching them? You think that it's so simple just to stand behind a pulpit and just tell them whatever? It's not. I have to study 30 plus hours on a weekly basis just to make sure that whatever I'm going to preach and teach to them is pointing them to Jesus, that the gospel somehow fits in there. I got to make sure that I'm being as faithful as possible to the Lord out of respect, because I'm out on that altar. It's not a platform or a stage, because I'm not performing for anybody. But I'm on that altar and I'm presenting God's word to the congregation. And I have to make sure that I'm being as faithful as possible, not only to the Lord, but to his word, and that I'm not deceiving anybody that's listening there, that shows up, opens up the good word and says, all right, Pastor, teach us. I got to make sure that I'm pointing them to Jesus. The responsibility. It's a massive responsibility that we have as pastors. It's not easy. On top of that, as I mentioned, I have a secular job. I work 10 to 11 hours a day. Exactly. It's hard. There are pastors that their full-time job is their church, and the church can provide for them and can pay them. Great, that's awesome. In my case, it's not that. I have to have a secular job. And like I said, I'm not complaining. Hey, I'm going to work my butt off because I got a family to provide for. And sometimes I feel that I fall short. But you know what? I get up, shake it off, and I move on. I continue to trust the Lord. So if you're watching this, and even if you're not a pastor and you're going through a struggle right now, and you've been under a lot of pressure and stress, trust Him. He will never leave you, and He will never forsake you. God bless you.